Hey, I'm Chef Tanya, and today we're going to be doing a minestrone soup. This is super easy, great because you can just stick it in the fridge or the freezer, have leftovers. I just got started with one medium onion, a little bit of olive oil in here. I'm just going to saute that up. I've also got 2 cloves of garlic here that I'm just mincing. I'm going to get that in the pan and saute that up as well. I'm using a really big stock pan today, but you don't need quite such a big one. All right, there's those 2 cloves of garlic. We've also got 2 stalks of celery. I'm going to get that in there. And then also about 2 large carrots. And that's really easy because they're going to give you all your flavor that you really want, all of these things. And the reason that we're cooking them before we put that stock in is it's going to bring those flavors out for you. So we're going to give that just a little bit of a minute while we get our other stuff ready. So I've got a fresh zucchini here. And what I love about this is, even if you're not used to eating a lot of vegetables, this is a really easy way to get them in. You want everything just bite-sized. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. Good. Get this chopped up. And we'll get these into the pan in a minute as soon as our onions, carrots, and celery are all sauteed, getting them a little bit of a color in there. So we're looking for a little bit of kind of golden brown. If you feel like it's sticking a little too much, you can put a little bit of water or stock or a little bit more oil. Don't be afraid of that oil. This is extra virgin olive oil, and we're using that. What that means is when it says extra virgin, it means that it's completely unprocessed. They've just gone ahead and pressed it, cold pressed it out for you. And these are some beautiful fresh tomatoes because it is tomato season here right now. If you can't get good tomatoes, don't worry about it. You can actually use a can. I'm going to use, these are relatively small, so I'm probably going to do about 4 of them. If you had some big tomatoes, 3 would be plenty. And the other really great part about this soup is today we're going to go vegetarian, except for the stock. But if you're a complete vegetarian, you can go ahead and just use a vegetable stock. But what I love about this is we are still going to make a complete protein. So if you remember, we talked about proteins a lot, and complete protein meaning that it's muscle building, right? So we want to really build that muscle, and the only way to do that is making sure you have all 9 essential amino acids. So when we do that with vegetables and grains and nuts, when we're going vegetarian, we want to get a really great combination. So the combination that we're doing today is some white beans, and I have a variety of them. You can use any kind of beans that you want, regular kidney beans. These are just happen to be the ones that I really like. And then we're going to add in some brown rice pasta. And that brown rice, along with the beans, is going to make that complete protein. So we can keep this without eating any kind of meat protein. If you feel like you want a little extra in there, you can throw some leftover chicken or whatever you have hanging around. Beef up that protein intake. But you can just keep this completely vegetarian. All right. Starting to get a little bit of golden in there. It's perfect. And so I love just tons of veggies. It's my favorite thing to do. And this is a really fun, even in the middle of the summer, dish, because although it's hot, it's these really, really fresh vegetables, which is amazing. If you can't get anything fresh, or you can definitely do a variety of stuff. It doesn't have to be exactly this. Oh, awesome. Almost there. But you can go ahead and get frozen if you can't get any fresh that's really looking good. But hopefully you can find everything. And what I love about fresh vegetables is you have to do very little to it to make it taste really good, which makes cooking super simple, right? You don't have to do much just because it's good, fresh foods. You are on top. Okay, beautiful. We've got a nice little bit of golden in there. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is go ahead and put my stock in. And this is actually a bone broth. It's a chicken bone broth. So I'm going to get that in there. We're going to bring this up to temperature with the boil as we're waiting and getting the rest of our stuff in there. I've got a bunch of spinach here. It's probably about 4 cups. And I bought the baby spinach in a literal bunch rather than a bag. You're going to pay about 1/3 of the price. And all I had to do was cut the ends off before I take that little tie off, and then give it a nice wash, and we are good to go. All right, so we've got our bone broth. We've got that was about 4 cups. I've got about 4 cups of spinach. I'm going to get my zucchini in here, 1 zucchini, or about a cup. Got about a cup of green beans, and then my 4 relatively small tomatoes, or a can of tomatoes would be perfectly fine. And then I'm also going to go ahead and put my beans in here. I did 2 cans of beans because I love the beans, but you don't have to if you want to do a little bit less, especially if you're going to get some other protein in there, if you're adding in some chicken or something like that. All right, so we're going to bring that up to temperature. I'm just going to throw this on while I get my herbs going. This is so super simple. All we did was saute the original vegetables, the onion, the garlic, the carrots, and the celery, a little bit of olive oil. Threw everything else in. Now I'm going to do my herbs, and I'm going to do equal amounts of parsley. I've got some basil and some thyme here. It's about 2 tablespoons, but if you like a lot of flavor, go ahead and add some more in there. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you can't get the fresh, that's okay. You can do dried. And you probably want about 1 to 2 teaspoons of your dried. Beautiful. It smells so good. All right, this is my thyme. So that was my parsley and my basil. Thyme, funny little thing. We're going to start at the top and actually pull those little itty bitty leaves off, kind of stripping it right off there. We don't want to eat that stalk in our soup because it's going to be a little bit tough. However, if you were making something like a roasted chicken, you could stick the whole stalk on there because it would go ahead and bake in there. So that would be really nice. And this is beautiful. It smells so good. And again, I'm just starting at the top and pulling that off. Gorgeous. All right, so we've got our thyme. Give it a little hit with the knife. You want to be careful with herbs, especially those leafy ones, because they damage really easily. My basil wasn't looking so great anyway. And if you can, go ahead and grow your own herbs. You can do it right in a pot, so it's always fresh. Really within about 24 hours of clipping that herb, you're going to lose a ton of your flavor. So it's always best to do it fresh if you can. We've had some funny weather lately, so my basil wasn't looking so good. All right, we're going to bring that up to a boil. And once it's hot, it's done. I am just going to do a little bit of salt and pepper in here. I like a lot of pepper, so I'm going to do 2 big pinches and 1 little pinch of some sea salt. All right, let's give that little stir. It looks beautiful, and you can see that the spinach is going to cook down, so you won't see nearly as much. And then I've also already boiled my brown rice pasta. I've got it here. I did rinse it when I was draining it. That's going to make it get some of the starch off so it won't stick together. A little bit easier if you're sticking it in the fridge. And I did hit it with a little bit of olive oil so it wouldn't stick. But how I'm going to serve this is when I'm ready, I'm going to throw the pasta right here in the bottom and pour the hot soup over the top. You don't want to mix the pasta into the soup and let it sit in there. It's going to absorb up all of your stock, and then you really have kind of a mush instead of a real soup. All right, as soon as this is done, we'll be right back. Okay, so we are back, and we have our minestrone soup is done. Brought it up to a boil, let it sit just for a couple of minutes boiling. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? So we have our brown rice pasta already cooked in here. It is cold, but you can do it hot, warm it back up. Look at that gorgeous soup. Okay, spoon some really yummy stuff over the top. And oh wow, there it is. Awesome, ready to go. Bon appetit.